Good morning, good afternoon from wherever you're calling in the world. It's a pleasure to be speaking with you here today. I'm doing this as a pre-recorded presentation here. Unfortunately, I'm not able to make it here today, but I'm really excited just to be able to share some of this knowledge that I've acquired throughout my career around the topic of discovery calls and how do we scale effective discovery call processes throughout teams, and specifically high growth teams. Really, what are the best practices here? How are ways that we can get reps to be asking the right questions at the right time, not just on the discovery call, but throughout the entire sales cycle, and be running an ongoing discovery call process here. I'm really excited to be chatting with you here today. As was mentioned, my name is Larson Stair. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DemoFlow. We are a real-time sales enablement solution to help you with your discovery call processes, product demonstrations, really any step of the sales cycle, and in those real live sales calls. That's where we do our magic. So excited to be speaking with you all here today, and let's get things going. So as I just alluded to, this is going to be our topic for our discussion here today is, hey, how do we scale effective discovery process? Specifically catered to high growth teams. That's where there's a lot of challenges that can come to light as it pertains to creating consistency amongst the sales cycle here. And before we get into my points and what I want to talk about or suggestions or any of those pieces, let's just talk a little bit about the end state. Where do we want to get to? If we're really doing effective discovery process and our team's growing super, super quick and we're adding new team members all the time, what is like the type of consistency that we want to see and where would this manifest? So really the first place I want to start is the tool we all know, love to hate, Salesforce here. And specifically a few key areas that I think are really important as an end outcome that we want to get to. And then we'll walk through ways that we can get to this spot here. But here we are at a kind of a Salesforce opportunity here. There's a few key things that I think are deemed really important to help us with analyzing the outcomes of discovery calls and really helping to just iterate on the process here. And unless we have these pieces in place, it's going to be really challenging to do and to really scale effective discovery call processes here. So as we look through the kind of this just account here, there's a few things that really stand out to me. First off is a lot of these metrics, we're following a MEDDIC principle here at DemoFlow. We have actual fields filled out. We have a few key areas that are gaps within our solution, but it's for the most part pretty much filled out. The last call that was happening, we have updated next steps here. You can see looking over to the right-hand side, I have all the gong conversations that I've ever had and the analytics behind that right here at my immediate disposal. Should I need to go into that, look at talk times, good questions to ask, so on and so forth. It's all right here. It's packaged up. Contact roles are really well thought out, which we'll talk a little bit more about why this is important, but it really helps to have a complete record here. And as we scroll down just a bit further, is I have notes from every step of the calls that I've been on. So this particular deal isn't even to proof of concept yet. We're still in the discovery phase. But I've had two discussions with my executive buyers here. And so you can see and go into those notes and what happened on those discussions there. Additionally, we want to know what's happening on calls, whether it be the next steps that happened after the fact, after that discovery call, or when those calls actually take place. And so as we look into the activity section, you can see tasks that are set up around next steps here, specific events that were logged. I have just a good understanding of what's all happened in the sales cycle here, and the Salesforce record is feeling pretty complete. So in my mind, this is an ideal state. We want to get to this and we want to scale this process and have these clean of records throughout the entire organization. And even as we get new people coming in, this can be quite challenging to get them to follow process, adopt that, and be using it on every step of the sales cycle and being really disciplined about this. So this is really critical. And I want to keep this in mind as we're going throughout our discussion here today, as I think this is a really crucial piece and really key to success. So the kind of format for the discussion here today is 5 main bullet points. First, I would like to just gain some alignment around discovery calls, some beliefs that I hold, some facts that are out there just about the process and what some of the best reps are doing out there as our guiding light. It's going to help to set up the frameworks for the remaining 4 pieces there on the back half. Then we'll therefore, once we gain some consensus on discovery calls and some kind of information out there, we are going to talk about frameworks. What are the frameworks that you can build to set up your team for success? How do we specifically align that to the customer journey? And really, why is that important? And then also the key to success is real-time solutions and really providing your reps these tools or processes that help with consistency in the discovery calls that they're happening. So we can reach that end state that we're really looking for. And then last would be analyzing and iterating. You can't really improve upon the process if you don't understand the data in there and change the processes there, what questions are working, which are not, what's inspiring good talk time. And so we'll talk a little bit about how do we analyze, how do we iterate on this process. But we'll keep this in mind as our central theme here for the, so yeah, let's get rolling here. So first part, let's just talk about discovery. Some notions that I believe about discovery. This is going to be a kind of our initial setting of the stage, if you will, on some of these pieces here. So the first belief that I have is discovery is not an ongoing process. And yes, this is not something that I came up with. I think a lot of people preach this, that yes, in Salesforce, we have discovery as a stage a lot of times, but discovery is an ongoing process throughout the entire sales cycle. And as sales reps, we need to be really cognizant of this fact. And as sales leaders, we need to prepare our sales reps with the right information, the standardized questions across the sales cycle to make sure that we're enforcing this ongoing process and digging deeper and deeper into different types of questions for different types of personas. But bigger than that, why is this an ongoing process? Why does that even pertinent? Why does that really even matter here? First off is the B2B buying journey is frankly pretty complex. It's pretty tough. There are standard stages within here that are relevant and pretty well known: problem identification, solutions exploration, requirements building, supplier selection, all of those things. Those are all pretty standard. But the complexity around this is challenging, and it's gotten more complex with time. And so while we understand that, our buyers do too. Our buyers are stating that this is the last purchase we made was pretty complex and pretty difficult. And frankly, I get it. Now, more than ever, the quantity of decision makers that are involved in any sales cycle is increasing. Just in the last year, it's gone from 5 to 7 in just the past year. So the number of people we have to consult along this journey that we're going through has increased, and it's only getting more complex. And that to say is each of those decision makers is bringing at least 5 pieces of information to that discussion. So we're sifting through all of this information, and it's really our jobs as sales reps is to navigate this complexity, the people that are all involved, and to help to simplify the process by asking ongoing and really strategic and pointed questions around discovery to dig deeper into each of the personas there. What are their needs, wishes, wants, withholds, any problems that might be happening? And that's really our job that we need to be doing as sales reps. And more specifically, our job as leaders to set up our sales reps for success so they know how to do this. And even more concerning is now only 17% of the time that we get with is actually spent with us as sellers. Buyers are spending the majority of their time on their own, doing their own research, digging into our solutions and competitors out there. And so the time that we get with our buyers is critical. We need to be laser focused. We need to be super disciplined here, and we need to be really well researched and really well targeted with the questions that we're asking. And so when we think about the anatomy of a great discovery call, there's a few key pieces here that I think are pretty important. So first of which, our friends over at Gong said, hey, top sales reps speak for less than 45% of the discovery call. That makes sense. We want to keep our buyers speaking a lot. We kind of pepper in some good questions within there to keep them going so we can dig deeper and deeper into that pain, buying processes, so on. And second here would be average number of questions asked by top reps during discovery calls, 14. It's a lot of questions to be asking one person or people throughout the initial discovery call. And that said, we also have a larger number. We have 2 average numbers of customer stories that great reps are incorporating into discovery calls. It's the relatability factor, right? We need to arm our reps with the right pieces of information around customer stories so we can create those connections and make our customers feel like we've dealt with them before and can help them solve their problems. And the last piece would be during an ideal discovery call, prospects ask between 8 and 10 questions. You got to keep the dialogue back and forth. So yes, we need to ask them questions, but no one likes 30, 40 questions just being hammered into them. We just really want to make sure that dialogue is back and forth and they get an opportunity to ask us when the timing is right here. So those are just kind of setting the stage here about discovery calls, some beliefs that I've seen, stats out there are important, and just the framework that we need to set before we go into how we're going to do this. So in my opinion, the first step of building scalable discovery call processes is you need a framework. You need a place to start, you need a methodology to follow, and then building the frameworks to make sure that methodology is adopted and easily acted upon. And so the first step is, as I'm sure many of you have encountered, there's a few that I'm just known or aware of, is you need to pick a sales methodology. What is the framework that we're going to be using and the nomenclature that we're going to be using so we all can all speak a common language here. We personally follow MEDDIC principles here at DemoFlow, but certainly I've encountered Sandler, Challenger, a variety of different sales methodologies. But it helps to be the guiding light for the types of questions we want to answer, when we're going to ask those throughout the sales cycle. Who are these people that we're speaking about? So it's not just, oh, VP of sales or marketing, or this is individual contributor. We just have a little bit more commonality, common language that we can be using as we're going throughout this deal review. Second would be setting up your systems. So we really need to craft the perfect sales stack to just win more meetings, drive revenue. But what we really need and what we need to think about when we're selecting our sales technologies is a few key things that I think are important. So first of which is it has to be integrated into that central CRM. If it's not in Salesforce, it doesn't exist. I think that is certainly true. That's where a lot of our reporting is being pulled. And so all these systems and the questions being asked, notes taken, need to be pushed back into that CRM so we can easily get an understanding and pull our reporting that we need to understand. It's easily distributed to your team. So that means that it's always at their fingertips. They don't have to go searching for these systems that they're using, making it really easy. And then, of course, how do we centralize all this data? So whether integrated into CRM, that's more note specific. The data piece of that is like, how do we get our conversation recordings back in here, the analytics from Gong or Chorus, the motions that were taken, templates used on calls. So this all needs to keep this in mind as you're picking out the different tools that you might be using to help to enable the team. And the bottom line is there's a ton, right? G2 Crowd is just a wildly emerging number of sales technologies out there, CRM tools, compensation softwares, a whole slew of different things that can help to enable reps in real time. And so you could spend hours and hours digging into all these pieces here and uncovering how these pieces are all going to work together. It can be quite complex. And really for us, these are some of the tools that frankly we use. There are a few that we do, some that we don't. We're an avid user of Salesforce, Outreach. Clearly we use our own tool. We're a fan of Gong and also PandaDoc, but really we want different technology for steps of the sales cycle to enable our reps to be running more consistent conversations. So that is a really key part of how we get success here. Now, this second piece, this is not something that is my own principles here, but I heard this on a MEDDIC training once, and it just really resonated with me. And how you think about the call flow as you're going throughout a conversation. And if this is our discovery call right here, we have the early, middle, late, and close. And then this axis right here, you have, if you go up, customer value, that is information that we might say or talk about that gives our customers value. And then there's seller value. Those are the questions that we're trying to uncover to qualify these people, dig deeper into our sales methodologies, dig for pain. And basically, as you go up on customer value, that's where things get a little bit more positive for that customer. We're building up credits with them almost. And as we ask our questions that we need to answer, at times we need to build up some trust before we start digging in on that pain and building that rapport first. And really throughout this entire discovery call, we need to be asking first, why this? Why is this even a problem? We need to help them to uncover that. Why are we important? Why should they keep talking to us? And then what is the urgency behind this? Why does this matter right now? And so these are key things as we're moving throughout this call that we need to keep in mind. And fortunately, the beginnings and the ends of discovery calls are pretty well formatted. There's not a lot of variety that needs to happen there. You typically open up a call, do some intros, agenda, housekeeping items there, just get some instant rapport there. And then at the end, of course, we need to leave them on a good foot, review our unanswered questions, next steps, send out calendar invites for whatever those next steps are, whether it's a deeper discovery, product demonstration, so on and so forth. But these two parts are really pretty well known. Not a whole lot to speak on there. Of course, there are things we can focus on, but I think where things get a little bit convoluted is right here in this middle. This is our danger zone, if you will. This is where, depending upon how the beginning of the call starts off, after you get through your housekeeping items, this is where things can go off the rails. And so what I think is really important to help to create consistency here in this kind of danger zone, we want to start off with building rapport, getting into the positive, if you will, providing value. If we go straight into our MEDDIC discovery call questions, Tell me about your pain that you're having. Let's dig deeper on that and deeper. And people are going to be like, whoa, 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 easy. I don't know if I even want to tell you these things. Why is this relevant? You haven't earned the right to ask me these questions yet. And so basically what I like to think about when we get into this kind of this zone here is you go through your housekeeping items. The first thing is we need to figure out a way to standardize the pre-call research. I believe that it's our job as sellers is to come in. I need to do research on your company, who you are as a person, look into investment reports, try to understand as much about your company, the initiatives there, and what your day-to-day job is. And if I've done a good job there, I might be able to glean some insights about how I see your industry moving. And what I could have is an opinion and come in and say, hey, I dug into your company a little bit. Really great to see last quarter's results. It seems like this quarter you're really focused on X, Y, and Z thing. I also look into one of your competitors and notice that they're focusing on something slightly different. I thought that was interesting. I think they're going the wrong way. Tell me more about what you think about that. And I'm immediately coming into the conversation as, frankly, a pseudo subject matter expert or trying to put a best foot forward around. I'm trying to have meet you on your playing field and have a good conversation with you. And I have an opinion. I'm trying to spark some good conversation. And what this does is it gains rapport. It starts to get you into the positive, because you're putting yourself and your prospects there in their seat, in their shoes there, and trying to understand what their day is like. And then there's that level of commonality and rapport there. So I think that's really critical. And then additionally, what you really want to do is be bringing a compelling customer story potentially thereafter, right? Based upon my research and what I'm assuming and what I've understood, is that true or not? Let's dig into some customer stories here and tell you how we've helped them with similar problems. And then we're like, okay, this is a problem. Why this? And you are a person that clearly knows what you're talking about. You've dealt with people in my position before, and you're earning the right to ask your medic questions, qualification questions. So you're starting basically way up here after you've had that instant rapport and give them reasons why they should give you those answers. And then as you go down, which is to be expected, you can dig deeper and deeper without getting that frustration that can happen if you go too far into a discovery call at times. So a few key things to keep in mind here as you set up this next phase and how you want to set up your templates and kind of the phases of prepping for a discovery call. All right, so we've done a good job on that front. We've set up our frameworks. We know exactly what the methodology is that we're following, how we're going to create the questions that are in an arc of the discovery call and what's right to ask at what points. The next part is to align it to the customer's journey. This is really critical. This is where discovery is not a call or a stage, it's ongoing. This is where this really comes into play here. And so the way I look at it is the first part is you need to just map out the process. Like, how do people buy software from you or buy your solution from you? And again, this is pretty well known. Like, you have your problem identification, solutions explorations, requirement building, and supplier selection. And so once you understand what needs to get done to make a purchase, and you can look back and do retros on previous close one deals and what all happened there, what you can do there forward is actually map out the personas. So who are the people involved in your buying cycle? Now, at different stages, that's going to be changing. And this is a generalization, so it could be a little bit different for everybody. At the early stages of a sales cycle, you're going to get some individual contributors in there, maybe some mid-level managers. And yes, maybe if you're lucky, you get your economic buyer in there, but just work with me here. So that's at that stage. Solutions exploration, you might introduce some of those economic buyers or higher level people with authority into the picture. Requirement building, that's where you're going really deep on technical sides. So you might have security people in here, IT, you might have really more technical people as they're digging into the ins and outs of the solution and trying to make sure that we're understanding all of the advantages and limitations that your solution might provide. And then the last step is once we've selected the vendor or getting close to that, there are, again, additional people involved in that process. And so that could be legal, it could be other executive sponsors, so on and so forth. Again, generalization here, but you can see at different phases, different people that are involved and getting an understanding of who do I need to speak to, who do all my reps need to be speaking to, generally speaking, as they're going throughout these calls. And the next phase here is to templatize the personas. We want to make sure that, okay, we know who we're speaking with at what stages of the sales cycle or buying cycle, which you'll see in right here. And then what we would love to, it's a really important thing, is using your sales methodology, whether you're using Medic or Challenger or Sandler, you want to map and create templates for the different personas and stages in the sales cycle, because the questions you're going to be asking and information you might be gathering could be different at each phase. And right here at problem identification, it's going to be probably pretty surface level, more pain focused day to day, versus solutions exploration. You might be getting into some technical products that you might want to be digging into, or technical requirements. Same with requirement building, supplier selection. And so the questions you're going to ask an individual contributor versus a mid-level manager versus your economic buyer, they need to be different. And they need to be different for the different phases that they're in of that buying cycle. And this is really critical. And I think this is one of the big pieces that's missing out there in kind of sales enablement solutions out there, is how do we really help to standardize some of these questions? And yes, this isn't going to be perfect all the time. I certainly understand that, but we need guiding lights, and we need ways to make it easier for either new or existing reps to be asking good questions, uncovering different pieces of information, and make sure that we're arming them throughout the sales cycle to be asking those critical pieces there. All right, so this next piece. So we've done a good job. We've selected our sales methodology. We have our sales stacks and technologies in place. We are now at the process. We have it all templatized, right? We mapped it out to the buying cycles, the personas that are involved. We have really good discovery call questions to be asking at different phases of the buying journey. We've templatized that so they can be specific to the common language of personas that we speak to. So we've done all this work. Great job. Now the real meat of this, the real missing link here is, how do we enforce consistency and maintain a discipline about us as an organization, and make it really easy for existing or new reps to come in, pick up that methodology, and start running great discovery processes and sales cycles. And what I believe is that the best organizations in the world are going to have really great technology to help them, but they're going to focus also on real time. This situation, this is a recording. When I'm live on calls, how do I make sure that I'm equipping my reps with the right information so they can be asking the right questions depending on what that conversation looks like? And so what I think is important here is really you need to bring your process to the forefront and make it dead simple. We have a lot of tools out there. These old top-down mandates to sales reps isn't working as much anymore. So we need this front and center right at my fingertips as a sales rep. It needs to be super simple. But the 3 bullets that I think are important here is, A, if you have a lot of templates, as we looked at, it needs to be organized, right? We need to be able to come in, make it dead simple. This is the person I'm speaking with. This is how I'm going to do it. Make that really organized and templatized. It also needs to be ubiquitous. So basically where I'm working, I want these different templates to be living and the questions to be asking and how I'm documenting my notes to be right there. And it needs to be integrated. So it needs to be integrated in my sales technologies right here at my immediate fingertips, making it super easy. And some people might do that directly right here within Salesforce, separate screens, and I'm going to document my notes right in here. That certainly solves the put it into my CRM piece. I personally think Salesforce is quite cumbersome and not the easiest to use. I think a lot would agree with me, but this is an option, right? We can use this. We can add some templates in here and make it really simple to be documenting. Second piece would be, I've worked with tons of organizations that just say, hey, we just want to use Google Docs. We have multiple people on a sales conversation and we want to be documenting in real time. We'll hyperlink to the account and put this kind of template on the account level or opportunity level. So it's ongoing and forever right here. You know, there's some limitations around circulating. Some of this information isn't put into the right fields within Salesforce, so reporting can be lacking, but you get the point. And then there's a whole slew of new emerging technologies that are embedded directly into Zoom or Teams. And so basically there's a ton of different solutions out here that you could be going in and uncovering to help enable your reps in real time. One of which is ours. So if you're interested, feel free to try it out. We'll get into our solution here in just a second. But you want to make it front and center. Really easy to use, right here at my fingertips. I don't have to go search for it. I'm basically ready to go. And basically what our solution does is, so if I were to reshare my screen right here and zoom out, so on the discovery call piece, basically on this view, what I can do is have this little side modal here, pull in a template. If you're following a methodology here and just say, you know what, I'm following the Medic discovery call, and then it'll automatically pull in all of my questions. that I need to be asking right up here around the paper process, champions, decision process. I can document this all right here and make any changes I need to, or right here directly into the notes and just say, we're going to move this close date to the 30th, change the stages. This is all right into Salesforce. The best part is easy to use. Push it right out, one click, it update, logs your activity, logs your note, logs your Salesforce fields. And this is embedded directly into Zoom. So it's right at their fingertips all the time. And I think how I will finish up here is the analysis and iterating process. So this one's pretty straightforward. Really what you want to be able to do is with the right technologies, you're just going to get the full story about what happened on discovery calls. So you not only want real-time meeting analytics, that means what templates were used, what questions were answered, what actually happened during this discovery call. And that combined with Gong or Chorus-like retroactive conversation analytics, that's where you can go in and look at your talk time, make sure it's really balanced. So you're actually at that 45% or less seller talk time, and shoot for goals around how we're going to improve this and the level of activity that we want to be doing throughout these discovery calls and sales cycles. And then we want this data centralized. So as we look back to our Salesforce end state, you want your recorded calls on there. You want all your fields filled out. You want notes in the right spots, contacts filled out, contact roles, activity logged. So you can go through and analyze all these pieces of information and see, hey, what's working, what's not, and do retros on close one deals and change the questions that you're asking throughout the sales cycle into the personas that you might be speaking to. And so those are a few key principles that I think are important when it comes to scaling effective discovery call process. And really what it boils down to is, hey, this is about winning meetings here. A closed one opportunity is really just a series of one meetings. And that's how we really need to think about it, is if we really map out the entire buying cycle, the personas involved there, understand what sales methodology we're using, pick the right sales technologies to enable our reps in real time, ask the right questions to the right personas at the right stage, templatize that and make it front and center, easy to use and easy to put back into my CRM. That is how we win more meetings. And thus we will drive more revenue, we'll do it faster, and we're just going to meet more of our targets now. Again, thank you all for your time and attention here today. Again, my name is Larson Stair. I'm CEO and co-founder of DemoFlow. We are a real-time sales enablement platform that helps with exactly this situation. So whether you're trying to create better processes for scaling discovery calls, or run amazing product demonstrations, or have that discovery process span the entire buying cycle, that is where we can help out. And making sure that we're uncovering the right bits of information, putting it all back into the CRM, and just making everyone's lives a little bit easier so we can win more deals and hit all those targets that we're doing. Again, thank you all for your time and attention. I highly encourage you to reach out, find me on LinkedIn, reach out on our website, and mention that you were in this group here, because we will certainly, if you're interested in our solution, we're happy to offer any discounts or anything to that effect here. So again, thank you all for the time and attention, and I look forward to hearing from you.